today's topic is entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. Later start today. My son was on a track meet for the city and he did very well. Amazing how crowded it was, and of course there was no parking and people were double parked and triple parked, and it was a big stress point, but overall it was a good day. Raining, and now it's sunny out. The reason I mention entrepreneurship as a lifestyle is I have time flexibility. And so some parents were able to run in there, stressed of course, because they're driving from downtown, so it's about 25 minutes each way, to watch one event and then rush back. Double parking, triple parking, illegally parking. And I had the flexibility to watch the events, come home, do some work. Because of my iPad app, did some of my bookkeeping on QuickBooks. Was I working at 100% capacity? No. But you know what? Doing pretty good. Got about, I'd say, a solid hour's work in. What needed to be done. And then moved on. I consider accounting working in my business, so there's some more work I need to do to work on my business tonight, which is on the marketing side. But the flexibility is a lifestyle choice. Of course, the major problem starting your own business is basically getting something that actually generates real income, and you have people that work for you and work in your business for you, basically delegating appropriately. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's the easiest thing in the world to get started. You know, it's interesting. Of course, my day has variations. I worked maybe about 15 hours on the weekend. Could have delegated the whole thing, but essentially a marketing event I had to attend. In the future, I maybe perhaps delegate that whole task out and pay someone to be there. Yeah, it's interesting. And the choice, or that phrase, entrepreneurship is a lifestyle, came from Richard Branson. And reading some of his books, I have to actually respect him even more for it. He says he gets up early, get the impression like 5 in the morning. Of course, this was the day he was at that island he has in the Caribbean, Necker Island. Gets up, grabs his iPad, answers emails for an hour or so, and then goes outside and does some kite surfing, swimming, etc. Eats breakfast with his family because it is kind of a vacation around 8 in the morning. Makes some phone calls based on time zone. Reads some books. Remember, he's doing all this from a paradise. So if anyone ever defined a lifestyle in a business person, I think it's him. Definitely hires it. I doubt his employees are living as casually as he is. But he is respected for doing his best to hold on to employees even when they really screw up. One book I read even hit someone actually stealing from him. Or I believe or not, actually shipping records. This would be back in the 80s, I suppose. Shipping records for cash. And he got a phone call from one of his suppliers that, something's going on here. And he actually kept the guy on. And he was just some young guy, made a mistake. Here was the interesting part. This is where the flexibility of being the boss is. He actually remembered his time when he got caught. I think he was 19, and there was a customs issue with the records, and he could sell records to the continent without all these taxes on them. And he discovered a loophole, and he was actually shipping records that were excise free, and he was able to increase his profits. Of course, he got caught, and based on the judge's decision, he said it was lenient. He had to pay a big fine. His parents actually had to mortgage their home to post bond for him. And he said if I'd have been a criminal record, he wouldn't have hired the tens of thousands of employees he has now. But I digress. The point here is that he did a bit of soul searching. He talked about a business he's involved in that actually makes a point of hiring people with records because they're trying to integrate back into society because they just can't get jobs. Some have obligations because I'm pretty sure in some locations, I think some areas of the States, any debts you had, etc., still accrue when you're in jail. Something I never thought about, but it's probably true. So there's still defaults going on and etc., credit card balances that you're responsible for with no way of paying. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but then you get out of jail, and what are you supposed to do? Sure, some of them are written off, but what else? What if you have a family to support? Same problem. It's kind of went down a dark corner. But bottom line is, I think you don't have to force yourself into a car at 7:40 in the morning, drive for an hour, work all day, and force yourself into a car at 5 o'clock and fight traffic for an hour. You can be the guy that comes in at 10:30 when the traffic's less. And let me leave at 6 or leave at 2. So you have to deal with that, less stress. Ultimately, the key, however, and that's the difficulty as well, is discovering a business that allows you to do this. On a personal note, I wish I had done this in my 20s when I basically had no real dependents, etc. And I could live with 6 guys on a floor for next to no rent, and all I was really worried about was beer money. Would have been different. Perhaps the life I should have done, but we shall see. Signing off.